Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, I'm tired. It's very early in the morning. What day is it today? It is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. I got to get up early for 4 o'clock, get to the airport an hour and a half early, and get everything checked in. And yeah, so my wife is going to take me to the airport. I'll see if I can get some videos and stuff of the trip on my way down to Grants Pass. I'll be flying out of Billings today, headed to, let's see, what's my first stop? I think it's Billings to Seattle, and then Seattle to Medford, and then I'm renting a vehicle and I'll drive from Medford to Grants Pass. It's about a 20-minute drive, so. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go get my stuff going here, get my luggage together, and I'll see you guys on the plane. Well, we arrived in Medford safely. Beautiful out so far. Well, guys, we made it. We are in Medford finally. It's been one heck of a travel day. So it didn't go too bad, you know. I honestly was a little worried traveling flying with bowling equipment. I've done it before. A long time ago, I took a trip down to Denver, Colorado, and I took a couple balls with me that I carried onto the plane, and that was smooth. But this was the first time. Let's see if I can get the reflection out of my glasses there. That's the thing about wearing glasses. No matter where you turn, you've got a reflection in your glasses. There we go. That's at least a little better. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, this has been the first time that I've ever checked any bowling balls onto the aircraft, and I brought 2 3-ball totes with me and a 2-ball tote with my bowling backpack. So 8 bowling balls total. I checked 2 3-ball totes. And that was the primary source of my arsenal. And then my 2-ball tote, I put my plastic spare ball, or I should say my urethane spare ball, and my Big Bro Burnett, my main urethane ball in there, because I was unsure if the airline was going to lose any of my luggage or there would be any delays or anything like that. And I wanted to make sure I at least had 2 bowling balls with me that at least I could be successful somewhat with in the event that my other equipment was lost or, delayed or whatever. So I carried the 2-ball tote with my spare ball and my urethane ball onto the plane as my carry-on luggage, and then I had my backpack with some extra clothes and stuff in it just in case my main luggage, which was checked to the airline with all my other stuff in it, would have been lost, or in case that main luggage was lost. So I was trying to do it at least the smart way. That way, if anything got lost, I would still have, clothing and some basic necessities. But everything went relatively smooth. With the exception of when I checked my 2 bowling ball totes, the airline needed to open them, and I had them all padlocked shut and secured because I don't want anybody messing with my stuff. So they had to pull me out of the line at TSA, and I had to go over and unlock the padlocks, unzip the bags, and they had to do like a chemical test and, TSA. Anyway, so beyond that, it was great. The flight from Billings to Seattle went smooth. I was in a small regional jet, little packed, those little regional jets aren't very big. They only have I think it's 2 rows on either side of the aircraft, and so it's a little cramped. So we made it to Seattle. It went very well. Got on the plane to head to Medford. Interesting part about that is because Medford is such a small area, we took a turboprop into Medford, and that's the first time I've ever flown on a turboprop. And very cool, a lot smaller, more compact, but, the plane wasn't actually as packed as the first plane we took out of Billings. So I landed in Medford, and the only problem I had is when I went to pick up my rental vehicle, the rental agency basically told me, well, we're out of vehicles at the airport, so you're going to have to go to the downtown location to pick up your vehicle. I was like, well, that's a problem because I don't have any way to get a ride. And so I had to get an Uber, of course, and call out to the Uber driver because he was very nice and decided to pick me up at the terminal instead of me having to go all the way to the rideshare zone. Apparently, Uber drivers have to go to a specific rideshare area to pick up people from an airport because Uber doesn't want to conflict with taxi drivers or something, which I don't know. I mean, to me, Uber drivers and taxi drivers are all one and the same, but so anyway, props to that guy for going against the normal and picking me up at the terminal where I had all my bowling equipment, because it would have been at least a 15-minute walk with all my bowling bags and everything to the rideshare zone. So I got down to the Enterprise Rent-A-Car downtown in Medford, got my vehicle, and I made it to my hotel in Grants Pass. And now I'm just sitting back, relaxing, trying to rest up. There is a big time shift from Montana to Oregon, so you're going from Mountain Standard Time to, what is it? I think Pacific Time, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's a big difference there. So I was really tired when I got off the plane and got to the hotel. I basically just crashed for a couple hours, and now I'm awake and enjoying my coffee. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. As far as the schedule goes, tomorrow, not a whole lot going on until tomorrow afternoon. The Pro-Am is going on, and I did volunteer to participate in the Pro-Am, but unfortunately they had enough bowlers already, so I will not be participating in the Pro-Am. I definitely want to try and get in on one of those down the road from the pro level side, because they needed a certain amount of pros to help out during the Pro-Am. I just think it'd be really cool to interface with other amateur bowlers as a beginning pro bowler, just to kind of give them that perspective. So I'm looking forward to that down the road. Yeah, practice tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Stupid glasses again. How about I just take them off? There we go. I don't need them anyway. But yeah, I think practice is from 4 until 5:30 or 6, and then the new bowler orientation is just right after that. So I'll have to participate in that as well. Of course, I'm going to get a few hours of practice in and kind of play around on the lanes and see how the lanes compare to my house lanes. I did visit the bowling alley when I went and got some lunch today. And one thing I've noticed is the lanes are pro anvil lane, which is very good because town and country lanes where I bowl the majority of my time have pro anvil lane surfaces. And so what that means as far as ball reaction, my hair is just going crazy today. What that means as far as ball reaction is the lane surface will basically agree better to more aggressive style bowling equipment. So your balls like urethane, strong asymmetrical solids, strong symmetrical solids, things like that. So I'm excited to see that. I can't wait actually because I was able to practice on the pattern on a pro anvil lane surface, and we're going to be bowling on pro anvil lane. So that's awesome. And then I didn't ask any questions about the new bowler orientation, but I assume it's just going to be, introducing new bowlers who've never been at a PBA event to what the rules are going to be. They'll probably talk about lane courtesy and how that's going to work in the event and some other things. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be able to meet, I'm sure, Josh Blanchard, who's the regional supervisor for the PBA in the Northwest and the West region, which is cool because, I'm sure you've seen him bowl on TV before. And then that brings me to my only frustration so far with this first trip. So back at the end of January 27th to be specific, I ordered my first PBA approved jersey from H5G. And, I've heard a lot of good things about H5G. So I ordered my jersey with the expectation that it would be here in time for my first PBA event beginning of March. Or, well, I should say the middle of March because it's March 17th and the tournament's not till Saturday. So, Anyway, so I ordered it. Several weeks go by, no contact whatsoever. And then about 2 weeks ago, I finally reached out to him because I haven't heard anything. I didn't get any shipping information, no notice or anything. I was like, hey, what's going on? I've got this event coming up here soon. I'd kind of like to know what's going on with my jersey order because I need this jersey to compete. You can't wear any other type of apparel at a PBA event if it's not PBA approved. Just like you can't take bowling balls and bowl in a PBA event if those bowling balls are not PBA approved. So they got back to me and said, oh, yep, there's been some delays on some recent orders, and, we will reach out to you in a couple days, and you should see your order start to move here soon. I was like, okay, cool. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they ran into a few delays unexpected, and we'll just see where it goes. So a couple days go by, nothing. No shipping information, they did not reach back out to me, so I reached back out to them. I was like, hey, I haven't heard from you guys. It's been a couple days. What's going on? They basically gave me the same generic answer. We've got some delays right now. It'll be a couple days, then your order should ship. Okay, here we go again. So I gave him another chance. A couple days go by. It's now nearing the weekend, the week leading up to my tournament. Nothing. And at this point, I was getting a little frustrated. So I reached out to him again on that Friday. I was like, hey, here's what you told me. It's been a couple days again. You haven't reached out to me again. No tracking information, no shipping information, no nothing. What is going on with my order? I need this by this specific date. And I basically gave them the following Wednesday as that specific date because that was the day before I leave for my current PBA trip. And so they reached out to me and he's like, okay, here, we're so sorry about the delays. Here's some tracking information. You should start to see this move over the weekend. It should ship. It's like, okay, great. That's perfect. As long as it ships, Saturday or Sunday, I'll be able to get it before I leave. The weekend goes by. Saturday's down, Sunday's down, nothing. And at this point, I'm just getting very upset because the standard production time for bowling jerseys with most companies you order from is anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. Some companies are a little bit longer than that, but the standard production time for this particular jersey was 3 to 4 weeks. And at this point of the conversation, it had already been 6 weeks. So I was just a little upset. So, I got back and reached out to them and they gave me the same generic answer. Oh, yeah, we've got some delays right now. We're so sorry. Reach out to the production team about this. We'll make sure this gets moving. We'll do everything we can to make sure it gets to you before your event. At this point, I'm just kind of like, this is the exact same thing you've been telling me, and I really don't think you're going to do it, but okay. So, anyway, I was like, okay, I'll see it ship in a couple of days. If you guys don't send it to me overnight, it ain't going to get here in time. So they agreed to ship it overnight. So now it is Tuesday and nothing. No tracking information, or the tracking information they gave me the week before, I checked. It had not updated. Zero. No information. So at this point, I just was so frustrated. I kind of sent them a nasty email, unfortunately. I just find that very unprofessional for a company that's part of the PBA and basically providing all the bowling jerseys for the PBA. Now, I understand if they're behind the 8 ball and they've got some special circumstances going on, I get it. But one thing they definitely could have done better on is they could have communicated better to me about the status of my order, instead of leaving me in the dark and basically give me the same generic, oh, it'll ship in a couple days, oh, it'll ship in a couple of days answer to my questions. So obviously my jersey didn't come in time, which, I reached out to Josh Blanchard. He did try to help get this whole issue resolved and was unable to make anything happen on that front. But I'll be wearing one of my Bolify jerseys, and I'll just have to have some tape over the Bolify logo to, avoid wearing unapproved apparel, essentially. The only other option was to try and get a polo shirt with my name printed on it, which there would have been no way I could have done that in the amount of time allotted. So anyway, that's the only frustration I have. Sorry to rant there for the 10 minutes, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. So anyway, guys, I'll check in with you tomorrow once I get to practice. I probably won't be doing a lot of recording this weekend. My first event, I don't even know if they'll allow recording, to be honest with you, so I don't know how well that's going to go. But I'll do my best to get some recordings of the practice, and if I have time, I'll stop at the Pro-Am and maybe get some recordings of the Pro-Am. I don't know. We'll just kind of see how it goes. I'm going to play it by ear. I am back from practice. Everything went really good. One thing that I am really starting to like about these regional tournaments is they post out your assigned lanes prior to the start of the tournament. So when you have a practice, you're able to actually go out and practice on those lanes. So I spent the majority of my practice time. I did practice for the entire 2 hours. I didn't throw very many shots in those 2 hours. I wasn't really pushing myself hard. I primarily was just trying to look at the pairs that I was going to be on and whether or not the 2 lanes are playing different from each other. And then I was, on the other hand, I was also looking at my arsenal I brought with me and trying to figure out what balls I'm going to start with, what balls I'm going to go to next, and that kind of thing. So I feel real confident. I was throwing the ball really well in practice. I feel good going into tomorrow. I don't know what the scoring pace is going to be. Seeing how the shot was playing, very slippery, I have a feeling the scoring pace isn't going to be that high, but you never know. We'll see. So I bowl tomorrow at 1:30. That's when check-in is at. So I will take a few videos tomorrow at the bowling alley before I get started, and then I'm going to focus on bowling. So well, guys, I've obviously been back for quite a few days here. I was just actually sitting here putting together the video, and the video that I took kind of summarizing the tournament ended up being corrupt. So now I'm recording a new summary about, Thursday. So this is now several days after the tournament was over. But anyway, overall the tournament went really, really good. I didn't really start out the strongest in game one. My first game was a 162. I really kind of struggled with my initial ball reaction there. I don't think I had enough surface. I was initially throwing my pin up Fantasy Days. I did have it surfaced at 2000, but with how slippery that pattern was playing, I just don't think I had enough surface on it. So something to learn for next time. After that, the lanes kind of opened up a little bit. We switched to the other pair, to a different pair, and that's when I started to, score a lot better. So my next game out the gate was a 204. And then after that, we went back down to 158. And at that point, after game 3 was done, I basically told myself, well, you're either going to stand up and fight and make a run at making this cut. Because at that point, I was, I think, like minus 40 or 50 pins. I was quite a ways back. You're either going to stand up and fight and try and make this cut, or you're just going to not bowl or try from here on out. So I made a decision to go to my emergency ball. The emergency ball that I had was essentially the Fantasy Days pin down with not so much surface, and my plan was to just move in and slow hook right through the middle part of the lane, because that was something that actually looked fairly decent during practice the day before. So I did that, and things started to look up for me. It was a better reaction for me. The next game out the gate was a 210, and then we shot 195 after that. So I was starting to gain some traction, starting to bowl some higher scores. And then the next game out of there was 256, and that is what really put me in position for almost making the cut. 256, that was game, I think, 6. So I had 2 more to go after that. That put me at minus 15, and at that point in the tournament, the cut level was minus 11. So I was only a few pins out, and I basically tried to keep that ball working as long as possible. The only problem was, as I went into game 7, the reaction started to get a little wonky. The ball wasn't reading the lanes quite as well as it was before. It started to wiggle a little bit near the break point, and so I'd made a decision at that point to try and ball down to something different. I did have a few pearl options that I wanted to go to in a case where I needed to ball down. I just wasn't sure which one it was going to be, so I decided on my Fantasy Star. I moved right a little bit and firmed up on the shot a little bit. And, it wasn't the greatest. The only problem is the Fantasy Star was a little shinier as opposed to more dull. So, it wasn't the best reaction in the world. I tried to make it work for the entire game, and I was on a 220 pace. I was actually on pace to score pretty well going into the 10th frame, and I made a mistake. I left a 4-7 spare, first shot in the 10th frame, and honestly, thinking back on it, I don't know why I missed the spare. I think I just tugged the shot, and my spare ball went right past it into the gutter, and that was that. So I ended up with a 199 in game 7, and at that point the cut had moved to plus 11. So with where I was sitting then at minus 16, I essentially needed to shoot a 230 in order to make the cut, which is doable if you have good ball reaction, and I did not feel the most comfortable about my ball reaction at that point. That whole game that I threw prior to that, if I missed a little right, it was kind of weak into the pocket. If I missed in, it would hold, but it wouldn't face up. So, I was kind of struggling at that point, and in my brain, I was kind of struggling with, do I stay with this ball? Do I switch to my other pin down ball that I had with me, my symmetric pearl, which would have been the silver bell? And I decided to try and make the silver bell work because it did have a little bit more surface on it, and I figured, okay, that might give me a better look. And initially speaking, it wasn't the worst, but it left me 2 splits in the first couple frames. And with the pressure of needing to shoot a 230 to make the cut, that essentially meant I had to strike out. I couldn't make any more mistakes. And without having a ball reaction that I was very comfortable with, the rest of the game really did not go well. First 2 frames were open. After that, I got a spare. After that, I got an open. And at that point, you're looking at it going, there's no way, because now you're in the 4th frame, and even if I strike out, I'm still going to miss the cut unless the cut moves down. So unfortunately, I did the stupid thing, and I got mad at myself and just kind of threw it out the door. Last game ended up being a 124, just essentially because I gave up. That's something that I have to work on personally, because there's more at stake here than simply making the cut at the tournament. There's also points at stake. And if you gain enough points and gain enough position on the regional tour towards the end of the season, you will get an invite to the Regional Players Invitational down in Las Vegas. So anyway, I learned a lot in this tournament. I'm actually ecstatic that I bowled as well as I did, because my expectation going into this, or I should say my goal going into this, was to simply shoot plus if I could and see what happened from there. I didn't shoot plus, but I at least kept myself in contention the entire tournament. I never got to the point where I was so far behind that I just couldn't climb myself out of the hole. So overall, it was a really good experience, and I'm really looking forward to the next tournament. The next tournament won't be for quite a while yet. The next regional isn't until the beginning of April, and it's in, hopefully I say this right, Puyallup, Washington. I'm planning to drive to that one instead of fly. Flying is a little expensive. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video today. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like below, and I'll see you in the next video.